Okay. And Elizabeth brought her baby today. It's so fun to have a little one here with us. She's been great. I watched her eat a strawberry earlier. It was pretty fun. She was eating it and playing with it. It was wonderful. Okay, so if you have any more questions about the NAFSCE, the National Association for Family School Community Engagement link or membership, that sort of thing, just send those to us and we'll figure all of that out. We could certainly, before you leave today, if you'd like to do that, but we can also work with you through email to do that. You're going to toggle. Okay. So we have one more connection we'd like to make today, and that is to hear from Jackie Arendt and the Ohio PTA to kind of learn about what PTA is doing, how to connect with PTA, their resources. And so welcome, Jackie. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. And first, thank you again for allowing me to speak for a few minutes. So my name is Jackie Arendt. Currently, I'm the Vice President of Leadership for Ohio PTA. And as all of our PTA leadership, we are all volunteer organization. We have 2 part-time paid staff that kind of manage the office for us. But what do you call it? Starting July 1st, I will be president-elect, which is like... maybe I like it, but maybe not so much my husband thinks it's like a lot of work that I'm doing, right? Why aren't you getting paid for it? But, you know, that's a whole different story there. But anyway, so I wanted, you know, this kind of fits so in line with what PTA does and the mission of PTA. So first of all, I just want to ask, like, what is PTA? What do you guys, what does the acronym PTA mean or stand for? Parent-Teacher Association. So there's always the PTA, PTO, PT, other, whatever. But the truth is that the Parent-Teacher Association is just that. It's an association. We are connected, right? It's not just about the parent group in your building. It means that you're connected to more than just that. And I'm not going to, you know, sell you all that. That's not the point. But I just want you to know that it is an association like what's going on here. It started. Well, does anybody know when it started? And how it started. I know history's boring, I get it. But I'm a firm believer you can't get anywhere until you know where you came from, right? But so how did PTA start? Does anybody know? Or when even? 1895. Yeah, so it's over 120 years old. Yeah, and so basically what we have learned over that time is that, you know, it started as 2 moms who decided that youth needed a voice, and that's really what the format came about in. So if you think about it, back in 1895, they were organized, I guess, as 1897, February 1st, 1897, because that's when we have Founders Month. But what they wanted to do is give all children a voice. And so the best way was to organize around parents and teachers, right? So again, as we all know, our brief history, there's been a lot of changes, you know, with schools and what has happened. But if you know anything about PTA, you know that we have been instrumental in doing a lot for children, okay? So if their first task that they took on was kindergartens, and it was the PTA organization that got kindergartens. Does anybody know about railroad crossings? Anybody ever come by a railroad crossing? Lakewood, Ohio. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Lakewood, Ohio. Their PTA was the one who got that pushed forward to Ohio PTA, that got pushed forward to National PTA, that got pushed forward to Congress. So there's a lot of things like that. You know, reducing class sizes, promoting the teaching of the arts, increasing funding for public education, early childhood education. These are just a few. And, you know, I'm not going to bore you with all that, but I just wanted to show you that on the National PTA, we have this family resources, and we have all kinds of information for you. We have advocacy information. One of the great things is, and I think Barbara knows, that the National PTA, and I'll have to search for it because I don't really know where it is on here. I have to put family engagement in. But we have a family engagement center that it was just started a year ago. And it was part of the family engagement, the Center of Family Engagement. I was lucky enough to be part of the inaugural class, I guess, and we have been doing a lot with transformative family engagement, okay? And one of the people that is leading this is Helen Westmoreland, who, if people in the family engagement world know her because she is from Harvard and the global family engagement, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm bad with those title things. But anyway, but we've been doing that. And in the past year in Ohio, and I'll jump over to Ohio. I don't know if I have, if we have it up here. But we received a family engagement grant to do grant work. And what we found in Ohio is definitely that there is a lot of wonderful, wonderful, transformative and innovative ways to do family engagement. And I'm not, again, not going to bore you on it, but the point being is the one that I want to focus on is take something that had started as just a nugget of an idea, and this was down in, I think it's Copley Fairlawn School District. I'm not 100% sure I have the right school district, but they had an area of land, and some parents, just like back in 1895 when the two moms, some parents were like, what can we do with this? And so they proposed to the principal a family garden, right? And so it grew, and 20 years later, they not only have that family garden, but they have a chicken coop, and they have other resources. The fruits and vegetables that they grow go back into their community to families that need it. So this is what, you know, Ohio PTA and PTA does. Again, I gave you I asked them to the defining the difference. We are a membership organization, and we do need members because our membership is, you know, our strength. But one of the great things too is part of our work is advocacy. And right now we are also we also just received another grant, national grant to help with the report card. So we will be seeing a lot of stuff around the report card with us. But you know, and so we will be offering our help, or asking for your help too, in spreading that word. So I don't know what else I can say. I am like a PTA fanatic because I believe in the bigger message that's out there. I am not trying to say take away any one unit or any building, what you're doing, because I know people are doing phenomenal work. But I know, you know, because we have the people and we have the resources, we've started it years and decades, over a century ago, of collecting those resources and helping others. So in whatever ways we can be of help to any of you, we are there. We will be there, and we will, you know, continue to help. And one of the questions that I often get is, well, maybe we don't want to join, you know, PTA or whatever. Well, you have to join to be part of it, but you can join, and I've got to find it. You can join a PTA or start a PTA. Hold on. We have a state PTA that is for $5. You can join our state PTA, and it's kind of nothing more than you're helping us carry on our work, you know. So again, if there's anything, I don't know if there's any questions or whatever, I just really think that, you know, not to take anything away from everybody's wonderful work, but we have been doing it, and I know if you go to the Ohio website and especially the national website, there's a plethora of information and resources to help families in every area you can think of. So that's go ahead. Go ahead.
Memberships from the schools, that every school that has it.
Yeah.
Is the school that pays the membership?
Individuals pay the membership. It's $475 between the state and the national that we collect for those memberships, okay? And part of it goes, and again, that money is just helping maintain, like, you know, the office and communication and resources, you know, that we have going on throughout the state, and then the national too. They would collect that $475. Now, most of them will collect, like, say, $6, and they'll keep the other $1.25 or whatever for their own dues. Is that right? You might have a PTO and not a PTA. Yeah, if it's a PTO, you're not connected to another organization. It's so that's the difference. So if we're an advocacy group, we advocate for all children. That's every child, one voice, as it says up there. That's where that slogan comes from. It's a group that's not just about putting on bake sales. And in fact, that's the whole idea is that we give leadership training. We give educational training to our leaders. One of the things that we have used with our dues recently is that, whether you're a PTA or PTO, you're a 501c3 more than likely, right? You're a nonprofit. So you have to keep in compliance with state, and federal laws. So we did, you have to file a 990 to say what, the money you've done. We purchased a program to make sure that all of our PTAs were in compliance. And lucky for us, after we went through and did the review, we had, I forget what the percentage was, but we had 100% in compliance because we did that. And that's a service, you won't get with a PTO. Now, does that mean you can't do it? No, that doesn't mean, you can't do it yourself. But again, it's just that connectedness, that bigger picture. We have been very, very fortunate with ODE to allow us to sit at, we were at the graduation requirements. I recently sat on the world language not curriculum, benchmarks and standards, to see if they're still in alignment. We're asked to sit on this. So we are trying to make sure that we get to the voices we need. And so this is what's wonderful about being here too, is now I have more people to connect with, to bring those to to the PTA too. So any other questions? Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And if I can be of any help, let me know. Thank you. Thank you.
I have to say, in my years coming up as a mom of kids in public school, the years that I was a part of a PTA I felt like were the most meaningful years of engagement for me. We had legislative representatives, and I was a representative from our PTA to our district superintendent's advisory council. And so this idea of sort of going beyond, I was also a room mom, and I'm booster president for the cross country. If anybody wants to donate, but so we're active in many ways, but that was a very, very meaningful structure to it. And we talked with our principal about our school improvement plan, and it was a very, and I think PTA, the sort of broader organization, helped to really support very meaningful engagement that we had there. So. Yes, sure. Sort of taking it beyond the bake sale, as you said, right? There's a good book named that too. So let me find my clicker. I set it down somewhere. Here we go. Whoop. I'm going to navigate for just a moment. Everybody gets a breather. Back to our PowerPoint. Okay. So there's an organization called NERN. It's the National Implementation Research Network. It's a network in, I think it's at Duke. And what they do is they study how do we get something that we know is the right thing to do, a good thing to do, that will have impact, and get it fully implemented. Something like, and the example they give that I've heard at trainings is having your physician wash their hands before they examine you. That wasn't always a practice. So hospitals are thinking, how do we get every provider who walks into a room with a patient to wash their hands before they come in contact, and then write wash in, wash out. And so folks study that. How do we go through that to get that process through? So a lot of times when you're implementing something, whether it be hand washing, probably those healthcare systems put together a team, a committee of folks that were going to figure out how they were going to get that training in, how are we going to monitor it, how are we going to make sure that it's happening 100%. And so they studied sort of how do you have effective groups that work together. And so one of the things they say is we have terms of reference. That's their term, these terms of reference. So you might have had bylaws before, you might, I don't know what they've been called, agreements, or, so we thought that would be important. So many of you, we had 110 family members in Ohio apply to be a part of this council with no terms, we weren't able to explain to them much about, we didn't exist yet. So what are the expectations going to be? What are we going to do? What are we going to ask of our council members? So we thought it's time that we sort of wrote that down, and we want to share that with you. We did send it to you via email, and you have a paper copy in your folder. So I have just some basic questions for you that I thought we could just do an all play here. Let's just all talk together, as opposed to smaller table discussions. We felt like it would be easier for you to react to something as opposed to our starting from scratch and sort of writing by committee. Sometimes writing by committee can be a difficult thing. So the purpose that we have put forth, and all of these things are malleable, so I'd like you to think about this as written in pencil. Can you think about it being written in pencil with me? So provide strategic advice and support for the activities of the Statewide Family Engagement Center. Your support and your advice, your feedback. More specifically, an advisory council, a group of family and organizational representatives who are responsible for helping the Statewide Family Engagement Center develop and beta test resources for families and education professionals aligned with our framework. We've been working on this framework. So that's sort of the purpose that we put forth. And this is a lot to think about right now. And but let's move over here. So there's some specific things we wrote into the bylaws. These terms here. Recruitment in the fall for family representatives and ongoing for organizations. So what we see us doing is every year sort of having an application to families in Ohio to apply to be a member of the council. But that our organizational members, we hope to sort of keep our relationships with our organizational members, knowing though that sometimes the person who's in this seat representing an organization will change. Okay? That for families, we know we didn't quite start on this, but that we would have a January to December term so that we would have the fall of the year to recruit folks. That's our thinking. And that our families could sort of re-up and say, I'd like to do this for another year. We'd like to keep that option open. So I'm going to, tell me what you think about this. Do these seem reasonable? Do they seem like they would work? Questions. What are the issues you see here? That was our thought for our family representatives, just to sort of have an ongoing flow of families from Ohio through the network. But tell us more about that.
No, I just wanted clarification so that this is 2 terms.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Yes. That's a great point. Okay. Thank you. For our families here, the thoughts of a January to December, because for me, as I think about that, it crosses school years. And the ebb and flow of family life around school years, things change, right? So what are your thoughts about a term that would go from a January to a December? Does that seem doable to you? Yeah, some of our calendars do go January to December. Yes, Krista?
What about students? Because we have students now also.
Yes. Josiah and Grant, what are you thinking here?
Keeping in January, December, or like doing school year?
Either option.
Okay.
What's your thought?
I don't really see much of a difference. The only thing for me personally is that, like, I'm a junior, so that like a second one would interfere with graduation and I would be out of school by then. That's just the only issue I see.
Okay. So if you, let's see, so you're not graduating this spring, but you would graduate the following spring, so there you'd be. Yeah. So there'd be some clear, if we had seniors here, there'd be some real limits to, yeah. You might, all right, thank you. What are you thinking? Pardon me, say it again. The question. What are your thoughts on any of this as far as being able to come back a second year? Or it sort of started thinking that next January would be like the beginning of the year and it would go through December. And maybe you're no comment, so that's okay too. So,
Well, I'll be interested in coming back a second year.
okay.
Yeah, I'll be interested.
All right, we would really like that too, so good. Yeah,
I think maybe the January to December thing could kind of be good. I know that sometimes the way, I know this sounds dumb, but sometimes the way I look at stuff is a little bit different when I'm looking at it for a school year for my family and when I'm looking at it for like the year, if that makes sense. So sometimes the things that I'm thinking might be different during the school year than in the summer when I'm not necessarily caught up so much in school stuff. And I would be interested, because I'm actually here as a family representative, but I got all of the information through my work email.
Yeah.
So I would not have known about it from a family perspective. Does that make
Yes.
sense? So looking at the way you get that out.
Oh, okay. And that would be interesting for us as we think about sending out applications for next year to fill some of the roles. We've had some family members say thank you, but I'm not able to continue. So we'll want to fill those roles. Yes.
If anyone has great methods of reaching out to families that are not from our school, please let us know for this next round of recruiting families, because it has to be a challenge for us to find out how do we get in the small and feelings that they can. Let's get our applications, any family, family, not necessarily into roles that teacher, and then we can also do we have ideas.
Yes.
I wasn't even sure like what way I got accepted until like somebody asked me, are you here as a family or an agency? I was like, I'm here.
Okay. On everything. Yes.
I think the challenge would be bringing in new people in yearly and then having to explain every year the process or exactly what we're doing.
Right.
Where you have a foundation here that understands from the beginning and working towards the end.
Yes.
So that would be one challenge. Bringing additional people in, like rotating
Yes.
people out and in.
Yes.
Like a revolving door type thing.
Too much, so it would be hard on the council if there's too much turnover. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, okay. So this, in the current application, the first time around, we reached out to families through our extension offices, through the Ohio Department of Education's news blasts and things, through the Aspire adult education programs in the counties, through the Family and Children First councils in the counties. I'm trying to think. Every organization who's here. Yes. And in fact, in this, and then we recruited Josiah. We did some personal invitations. Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. No, Tom, I believe it went out to the Soup to Soup. Is that what it's called, or Ed?
announcement went to all schools.
There you go. Okay.
In Ohio instead of Ohio.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's how I found out. I just wasn't sure if all the other schools in my area also knew about it.
Yes.
Another outreach would be like the YMCA.
Oh, that's a great idea. YMCA's. Yes, Seneca? Sure. We know that that's an issue. Right. Yes. School counselor representative. Push it out to them. Okay, we're taking notes. This is great. Thank you. Did you want to add?
I think there is still awareness for the high school but I know I have the awareness in the high state.
Oh.
That reduces the awareness in the high state.
Yeah.
Who are also because of the other extension of awareness.
Through Ohio State, I don't think we thought about distributing it from us. That's a good point. That's a great idea. See, we didn't. Oh.
4-H.
Here we are. Here we sit here in 4-H. That's another one. 4-H. Yes. Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts would be family members as well. Right. Okay. And they're serving, kids K-12, which is kind of our focus. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. This is great. Okay. Yes. There you go. Okay. So here's the commitment. So in legislation, it says that our centers will have advisory councils, and it will be more than 50% family members. So that's a balance too. We had many organizations calling us and emailing us saying, we'd like to be at the table, but we needed to have more family members here. So that was a priority for us. We did turn folks away. So trying to keep a manageable group size, a group that maybe we could all sort of get to know one another but still work together. We didn't want to have 200 people in the room. So that's a balance that we're having to strike. I think I had a few more questions. So here's where we're landing. We're thinking 4 meetings a year, and I know that that's travel to Columbus. And what we're doing is if someone is missing 2 meetings, they're usually getting a phone call from me saying, hey, how's it going? Or an email checking in. Life changes, work changes, and we understand that. So, but knowing too that we can't really do our job without you. So, so it's not to and out, but it's more of a, is this still a good fit? Is this still something you're interested in? We fully understand how things ebb and flow in life. And that that National Association for Family and Community Engagement, for as long as we have this grant and our partners with them, they will continue to provide memberships to the folks in this on the council. So thoughts about these things, number of meetings, thoughts about frequency of, or number of meetings missed, that kind of thing. We're not trying to be highly formal, but we're trying to have a structure. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay, great. So keep up the live stream. All right, sending out notes and that sort of thing. You'll also see on our new website there's going to be a login for you, a page you can log into where we will keep all meeting minutes and handouts and photos of meetings, I don't know, things like that. Links to the live stream so that you can see at a later point in time. Okay. Trying to think, was that it? Now we get to check out our website. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? So we'll put a date on these. I think we'll feedback that we've received. I'm looking at Kristen because we have Kristen to thank for really pulling these together for all of us. So we'll incorporate any feedback and then we'll send them out, and we will have a as of date, knowing that we'll keep changing that. Okay. But back to that purpose statement. As far as being a voice, providing input, providing guidance, sort of telling us this is what we think we need in our community. We have these big meetings, but I would always like you to know that we are available to come to you. So if there is a superintendent in your district, if there's a committee, if there's a meeting, and we can in some way help support that, if you would like a training and it's something that we are able to do, we're happy to come to you. I was in Toronto, Ohio, which is north of Steubenville last week, and in Byesville, Ohio, which is out past Cambridge before that, and we like to get out of here. So please, it's hugely informative to our work to do that as well. You can kind of get stuck in Columbus and think that the world is Columbus. So we need to always be reminded that that's not the world. Yeah.
How about 5 10 minutes
Yes. Yeah. How about that? Okay. We'll say 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes, if you want more time, we'll do more time. Okay, let's take 10 minutes. And if you would like to take notes, jot ideas down, we could collect those. Okay. And we'll do another wrap up afterwards as well, just to kind of get feedback.
we're referring to, it's the
Does anybody raise your hand if you'd like a little more time to look at the document? Okay, all right. Well, thank you all for kind of taking a closer read of that while we've been here. And if you have notes that we can collect, you know us, we love when you write things down. We collect them and read them and make PowerPoints and frameworks and things. But I'd also like to just hear out a little bit. So we talked in general about them. You had a read here. Thoughts or comments about changes, things that you thought were good, things that we should consider? Kristen's collecting notes. Yeah.
Our group talked about putting somewhere in here what happens if the grant funding were to go away and how that would change our council, if we would still be a council, if it would just be more bare bones, no lunch, no stipends, that kind of thing.
Okay. So explaining that there. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Our table had a lot of interesting thoughts about kind of continuing roles after membership in the council and the potential for an ambassadorship in the community and in their regions as a way to stay connected and grow the impact of the council either after the funding runs out or after the grant is over or whatever it is, growing a program like that.
I like that. Thank you. Once a member, always a member. Do you have any points that you all talked about to share?
Not really.
Answer can be no. All right.
In the small time we have, we don't need to.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay.
Can we just talk over?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm writing down notes so I
Yes.
can remember, but I just was thinking, looking for ways to reach out to people. I guess I'm on the prior question. Children's hospitals oftentimes will have a lot of family support groups for kids with disabilities. Just thinking of that as another way to reach out, which is really the prior question. Sorry.
No, it all works. So reaching out to children's hospitals and yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I did not think about any of these things.
I had one idea that sort of I always think of like backward design. How do we know that this has been successful? So how do you measure outcomes and success here? And I'm sure that's part of the framework, but it might be appropriate to have something here as far as like what the strategy or the longer term plan is for measuring effectiveness.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, yeah, so we've been sort of meeting to meeting thinking, are we? But we'll do that together. We won't determine that, I think, without you. I think we'll together decide what are our measures of success and how we'll measure that. Thank you. Other thoughts? Yeah.
Kim had a really important idea that I think is important for considering moving forwards. This is an advisory council, that is supposed to represent the needs and knowledge that families can bring. So if we could potentially develop some type of steering committee or leadership group so that there was just more driven by the membership at certain times. Which I think.
Tell me a little bit more.
So we're talking about, right now we're thinking about the framework, we're getting up and running, we're hearing from our partners. Eventually that work is kind of not going to be a focus, and we'll have to kind of think through kind of what the types of needs that we have in our communities and things that we want to continue to talk about and work on. So it might be helpful if there was a group of members that kind of helped the statewide center plan some of these meetings and take the needs, whether it's issues from their community or things they've just been hearing and stuff like that.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for going.
Leadership, elect a couple leaders from the council, not just us as staff.
I think it's a great idea. I would love, that would be such a welcome thing to sort of think that you're kind of creating our direction with us. Yeah. Any other tables? Yeah. Okay. So co-creating, we've got a product. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Sharing out successful programs that are happening in other schools and communities. Okay.
Maybe perhaps that instead of a 2-year term, that if you are committed and are able, that perhaps you may continue as long as you're able, and then maybe give it a notice as to when, your term will be up. So maybe the opportunity to do more than 2 years. Or we do where everybody reapplies no matter what. So those were kind of 2 options.
I'm thinking through here how we should handle these options that we have. We should sort of send out a survey after this with a few of them sort of explained out. Does that sound like we'll try to describe some of these options. One of them was, for 1 year you can renew for another. Another was what you just explained of
Reapply at each year.
And then was there another one? Yeah. Yeah. That application process was, it took a lot of time. It did. It is. It's a lot of time. The problem is that we fell in love with 110 people who applied. And then that was hard. Kristen probably did it the most. No. So she'd say, but what about Mike? Or whoever it was. It was hard. It was very hard for us to choose. So.
Confidentiality. Perhaps maybe this might be a Tom question. If there's material from ODE that you're not ready to release yet, would there be something in here that we acknowledge that pretty much what's established in meetings remain here? I don't know.
Okay, we'll indicate that. I think we will. Because I think for the most part, we'd love for you to be sharing broadly about what we're doing and about family engagement and stirring up those conversations and probing and asking questions in your schools and communities. And we would like to be hearing as well. So, yes, but if we have something that's sort of for here only, we'll make sure that that's clear. Anything else along that? We recruited students through their parents.
Not necessarily have them attend all. And at what age do they have to be?
That might bring more.
That's fine. Just personally, I think it would be nice if we had a little bit of a difference between ages since, I think all of the high school students are kind of on the upper edge of high school. So it would be neat, especially if you're going to stagger how people come on, if there was a difference in ages. Might be something cool to explore.
Grant? Josiah, did you want to add something?
I would say it would be good to have more students, because if we just what is it now, 4? Just 4 students, I feel like there's not that much, I don't know what to say. Yeah, it's not as much input. If you have more 6, that's 2 more people to add on, or the more the merrier. Yes.
Thank you. Yep. For our students, NAFSCI has a student membership. It's all college students. We weren't sure how you would feel about that, but there is a membership for you. So if your family wants to get online and sort of check out what the college, it's really for folks who are studying education, social work, family studies, other fields, healthcare, and they are also interested in knowing about interacting with families. Those are college students who are part of a student membership. So we did not send out student emails. Students did not receive an invitation just because you're students, and because we didn't know if that student member group would be one that you would want to. Okay. All right, well, I want to wrap up quickly here. So let us share with you. We're going to pull up our website. Is it working? It's working. All right, I'm going to give you, talk to your neighbors for a minute. I'm going to have to navigate there. It's going to take me a second, because it's not live and I have to put in all sorts of passwords. Okay, here I go to here, and I go to... No, I'm not on VPN. So what I'm going to do is disconnect. You want to do yours? Hey, maybe we could click through. Why don't we do? Click through if you want. Yeah, why don't we do you? We just plug your computer in? Yeah, and you can put it through? Yeah. Awesome sauce. We won't need that. I'll just set that there. Yeah, they're not too important. I'm gonna move mine. I think we're gonna switch hers, and she's already on. All right, let's see how this looks here. I have some notes. I had some notes about what I wanted to click through, and I don't know where they went. Here they are. Barb's bringing notes. All right, here's what we've got so far. Need lots of feedback. So as you can see, we have a sort of a look, a logo, a tagline: every child, every family, every school. The home, you're looking at the home page, and what the home page is really is just, we are currently feeding information into this. And so what shows up on the home page in each of these blocks right now is just the most recent thing that we've loaded up. So if you'll just pause for a moment, what we'd really like to do is have a question of the month that folks can respond to, and we'll keep those answers in a link, but also every month sort of show the answers from the last month. So we recently loaded up the Red Tree House, the Ronald McDonald's house, Ronald McDonald's resource site for families and for educators. One of our sections is recommended readings, and so just this week we had put in an article on a couple of books. So this book in particular by Stephen Constantino is one that our staff in our office, we're doing a state book study using this book now. So if you click on recommended readings, we'll have a set of recommended readings here. So we're really trying to vet everything we put here as something that we would recommend, that we think is quality for Ohio schools. So that's the home page. And if you go all the way to the bottom, we have our center. We are a family engagement center because we're a grant-funded center, but we exist within a center of The Ohio State University called the Center on Education and Training for Employment. That's our home. So we are really a project, in a sense, at that center. And so we have an item there that will help us listen to the page, to have it, and a place to access other languages, although I don't know about the quality of that. Are we reading German? Okay, so let's go back up. Okay, so translation feature and a read to feature, some other things there. So then if we go to the For Families drop down, now how we oriented For Families, and I'm interested, please, I know that I kind of am thinking about who are my kids, what age group. So if you actually go to that page, we have 3 buckets here: early childhood, elementary, middle, and high. And if you go ahead and go to the early childhood just for now, these are big sections here. So there's a lot of benefits to students, both socially and emotionally and academically, linked to having meals with their families. And we really think that that's sort of the type of homework we would like to promote. Families having meals together. We know that builds vocabulary, builds literacy skills. It, we see all sorts of benefits to kiddos from doing that. And so that's something we are highlighting here. But if you, so we link to a project at Harvard where they put out lots of resources for families around having a family dinner. I get a recipe every day in my email. Academics right now is one big bucket because as we're loading in materials, we know that once we get more materials there, we'll need to separate out into different academic areas. But let's take a look at academics anyway. Let's just click on academics. So the sorts of things that we're loading here are Sit Together and Read is a shared reading program for children and their families. This also lands in the For Schools section because it's a program for early childhood teachers, but it really helps families just to enjoy sitting together and reading with their child, and in particular, helping children to notice that there's print on a page. So print awareness is the technical terms, but it's a free program. It's based on research. It's here from Ohio State. So other things that evidence and tips on supporting reading skills at home. Some items on homework. We kind of take a stand on homework, knowing that there's a lot of what we do as homework that kind of stresses families out, so we want to be careful with that. And just other things as well. So the learning that takes place in a garden at home, the learning that takes place in other spaces that is sort of family friendly. We're also linking to some of the either the Department of Education or Jobs and Family Services and other things. So these are just a few of the items there. And then if you go to For Schools, and let's take a look at attendance there. So what in the For Schools section, what we have here are resources for engaging families towards attendance. So not just attendance programs for schools, but how do we really work together with families to promote attendance in school? So we have a few resources from the Department of Education. We also have, say, Check and Connect, which is a research-based high school model for improving attendance. We have a toolkit for engaging parents in the early years, in early matters, helping families to understand attendance as they bring their child into kindergarten. So we have sort of taken 2 lenses. One is families, and then the other is for schools. So for schools, we've divided them in resources for engaging families around attendance, the various academic subjects, social and emotional development, transitions, communication, family engagement planning. So there are tools and resources just to help a school sit down and sort of assess how well they are working with families, and then what they developing a plan and action around that. So are we in the planning? If you'll go up a little bit here. So for instance, here's a resource on family engagement for high school success toolkit. So trying to include in here items that are at the different levels of so you'll see secondary schools. So right now we're just sort of populating with materials. And then if you would go ahead and go to stories at the top, you'll see. So here in Stories from Ohio, this is where many of you talked about, let's share the good things that are going on so we can learn from one another. So in this space is where we would like to highlight what's going on in Ohio, what Ohio schools are doing, but also what Ohio families are doing. So we have a space where you can share your story. You can sort of write your story, and that we will vet that and post that here. We're also collecting stories from schools. So, for example, locally, this Kristen attended the Hilliard Parent University, and it was a day of classes for families all geared toward student mental health. And so we would, there's a great example of a school district, actually 2 school districts coming together, putting together a day for families where they could select topics and learn about supporting their child's mental health. It was a great example, and so that's one that we have the article written and ready. It's just not linked to this right now. So a space for one of our families to say, hey, here's what I do, and here's an example of how we really support our child's learning and education, or for a school. So, and then there's a tab for Ohio's framework, which just sort of has some placeholder things right now, as we are working through what are the definition and the big buckets and the various tools that will support that. It will be at this link here. And then under About Us, it's just, of course, what you would expect to find about our center, our vision and philosophy and the impact, about our team, folks like me and Meredith and Kia, and we will have more. And our university partners here, I think you'll find OSU Extension here. And then if you go to our, let's go to our state partners here just for a moment. Or there you go. Let's go there. So we want to make sure that we have each of your organizations here, and we are linking to you. We want to make sure that we do that well. And if we have linked to the wrong thing, you don't want to be linked here, please let us know. But we have those built in. And then our State Advisory Council. So this would be a link describing this group, but also a place to log in. That would take you to pages that would be just for you. So that you can log in and find the link for the YouTube recording, or meeting notes, or connecting with other members, that sort of thing. So a space for you there. So that's where we are. So we've got some questions, and I believe you have some questions on a handout in your folder. And I think so we can stay here and stay here for a moment if someone wants to see more. But so the questions that we have for you that are on your handout, and I'm going to need to peek. One, how would you use this website? And I might be jumping ahead. Number 2 might be, what would you hope to find? If you were going to direct someone to this, if you're thinking, as a parent, you're thinking about your child's teacher, your child's school, another family member, a friend, what would you like to be able to point them to that we could make available? What would you hope to find here? And what would keep you coming back? So would it be, how could we keep it fresh? How could we keep it as something where folks that think, I might bookmark this and check it out every once in a while? And we're wondering too, is as you looked at this, did you see high school? Did you see middle school? Are you feeling, some statewide family engagement centers are just focused on preschool. And we want to make sure that the pictures we're using, the resources that we have here apply preschool through grade 12. And so, and how could we improve our appeal? So, And if you also just want to add general notes, we thought about websites we liked and tried to use some of those same elements.
And give feedback or add a comment that would go to someone to answer a question?
Contact us. Let's try that. Do we have what's our contact us look like? Haha. So, not at this point in time, but that's, yeah, but it sounds like want to leave a comment kind of thing. Okay. Yep, easily done. So I would go to contact us and expect to be able to contact you. Okay. One of those little forms you can fill in. Got it. If you click on the email, there is an email there that takes you here. No, there you go. You did see. So if we had something bigger that said email us or something like that, there was comments or questions, you click on it and it generates the email for it as opposed to a little button. Just, okay. It's not my number. No. It's all right. Someone who answers the phone, right? Yeah. Yes.
Thanks to Kia, who wades through a bajillion pictures to find them for us. Here's our goal.
Deciding this kind of on the website. So I know you've got like recommended, but I think that's really interesting. Like a place to sign up, or like on the recommended reading, almost like a monthly like group. Or like so people go to the website that be part of like a discussion about whatever the monthly recommended reading is. So then it's almost like a statewide discussion about ideas that are going on with family reading.
It's kind of like the schools that are doing one book, one school, one book. Did I say it right? One book, one community, where everybody's reading Lemonade Wars, and then we all do lemonade things, and that would be great. Yes.
It could lead into also your network. Like if you're going to have your online network,
yes,
your phone network, that could be kind of what feeds into.
Okay. So that would be a part of, people could also connect into a network that way. I like that. Yeah. Okay. The Family Engagement Network. Thank you. That's a great connection. Other thoughts? Oh, yes, Kelly.
So to me, curation is interesting here because, again, sometimes you want to, come back to a resource, and you rely on it being there over time, right? And then there's the converse of that, you want fresh content, right?
Yes.
So managing that over time, I think, is a question that just presents, opportunities and challenges, right? So have you guys thought about how that would play out?
So all of these, so here's how we have gone about organizing our thinking, and it has emerged, but we have a database where many of us can load resources, where we enter, so the person who's putting it in there puts their name in the first column, so we know, well, actually the first column is when it gets loaded here. So if I load up a resources, my name, and then the title, what I want the title to be, and then that little blurb, and then the link, and a photo, and then I start categorizing it. So is this for families, for schools, or for both? So is it an academics piece versus, and Greg then uses those to tag each of these items. So if it applies through elementary and middle school, it'll show up in both buckets. But then we resource, as these buckets fill up, we need to make smaller buckets so that it's, so that you just don't have long pages of resources. So we know that that's going to be our new problem. It's not that we don't have anything, but that we have so much.
Right.
Curating it becomes.
Yeah, so it's almost like, do you have an archive? Do you have a favorite button where I can go into favorite? Yeah.
Things that are put down in the screen.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. That's great.
Is very much like scouting. So it really makes me mindset go from just the things that we understand about the website to anything you do that has elements to go on the website. So I appreciate your thought because it is such a different way of having it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you look for ways to make sure
And I think when you think about people coming back, right? They're coming back either to find something that they looked at previously that was, meaningful, or it's like what's new, right? So typically those are, or I need, I'm searching for something, that I think you guys might have, right? So it's like you thinking about those use cases and how you serve up the content based on those, it seems, right?
So testing out, sort of find this thing. It had something to do with transitions. That's how I normally have, like a word, and I try searching it. And so we should try that and see if we're able to kind of find things again. Okay, that makes sense. And this idea of being able to have favorites, that's a great thing too. Yes. Well,
council here, but I don't see anything on there for students.
you're right. Yeah. So we could have for students, a student's link.
I don't know if it's used as much as the other stuff either.
Yeah.
I might need to look at that and be like, oh, there's nothing for me.
Nothing. Okay, I like this idea. So actually, we've been thinking about sort of customers in two buckets, but it sounds like students, that was a kind of design flaw on our part. We can have students as well. Mm-hmm.
Thought around that, because even in this forum here, I feel like maybe students should have a slightly different agenda at times, where they're sitting together and sort of talking about, between themselves about what it means to them as students. And so I could imagine actually them helping to shape this, right? So, because it should reflect what's important to them.
What about a college student being kind of the mentor of the students in this group?
maybe you could get a different, like maybe someone in education that would be interested in sitting in some of these meetings. Maybe you could alternate. Maybe it wouldn't have to be the same student at every meeting, but they could sit at the table with any students that do attend, and they could be kind of the mentor and talk.
This is
and
great.
You've got an access.
Right, because right now we've sort of spread you out so thin here that your voices are not as strong as if we really pulled you together. This is great.
Work for them.
Yeah.
What they wish their parents would have known. Our student can kind of facilitate that. And maybe you could get some middle school kids to come as well as high school.
That's a great point. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Jim. Yeah. Same question? Is it mobile friendly? Okay.
Design responsive. Yeah, it should work on all of them. If it's not, let us know.
Other thoughts? Originally, we had thought about saying having a link for principals and a link for teachers, and then the resources we had didn't necessarily neatly divide themselves there. So instead, we went to these topics. There's actually a new report out that we have a link to called Next Generation Family Engagement, and they're talking about high leverage areas for family engagement, and attendance, transitions, communication being some of them. They actually lump academics and social emotional together, and we felt like it was more appropriate to pull them apart, but sort of trying to base this on some of the things that we're learning as well. Yeah, Kelly?
Is there anything associated with events that would be useful to highlight on the homepage that, upcoming conferences?
Yeah, where were we? So it was interesting. Maryland's site there have been a few sites we've been sort of looking at. And Maryland's center site, they are like the hub for events. And we felt like we didn't have the manpower to do all of that. But we would love to point to, so for example, one of the things in the grant, I don't know if I've mentioned this to all of you, is for us to promote family financial literacy. So I went to Extension, to the lead Extension program officer who leads that for Ohio, and said, send me your best stuff you would recommend for Ohio families. And one of those things is a calendar of all the events you could go to in all the counties around Ohio. And I thought that would be great. So we can highlight them on our homepage sort of as conferences and events coming up. But the Red Tree House has events. We were trying to find the balance of being able to promote those things in real time. Boy, everybody should go to this or attend this. But at the same time, not being like the state's calendar, yikes. And I don't want to do that. So events. we are, one of the things as we are continue to correct and fix and fill is the screen reader friendliness of it. We're careful with when we're using Microsoft products to use the embedded headings and things because we know that helps with screen readers. But that's something that we're sort of checking on this is how does it present itself in that format. Yes, we can. Yep, so we're going to wrap up. Yep, and so what we'll do is we will get this to a place where we're feeling better about it, and we will just send it to you all. And we might ask you some questions and ask for you to take a look at it, click through it, play around with it, share it with somebody, and get some feedback, and so that then we can go ahead and send it out more broadly. So we have, we're going to wrap up for today. So in follow-up to today, let's see our next. So we are developing a nice partnership with COSI, which is the Center for Science, Central Ohio. Nah, I'm not going to say it wrong. It's COSI. Yes, and I just, actually sort of had a meeting with folks there, and one of the first ways that they said, well, let's partner by at least starting to have your group here at COSI. So they are offering us the meeting facilities for our meeting on August 9th. And we were thinking, and I don't know if this will pose a problem, to meet earlier and a little shorter, but then be done, so that you can bring friends or family and spend some time at COSI. We're working with them on some reduced rate tickets and parking and all of those things, but also to have them present to us. And what I'd like for them to talk specifically with us about is the important role that families play in helping their children experience those STEM, the math and engineering and science and the arts, but also then how is it that families play a really critical role? And I just read a great report that we have posted on our website, and I'm happy to share with you about the role that families play in students going into STEM fields for study or for their careers. And families play a really important role in that. And so we would like to hear more about that, and also just to hear from COSI, because they're just fun and amazing in that way. So anybody never been to COSI? Woohoo! All right. So hopefully this is a place you'll be able to come, have a meeting, and then also play. So here's our ask of you, if you would, as you are identifying resources, send them to us. Say, hey, here's something I think would be a great link for the site. We would love it if you would send us stories, even if they are just a sample, and we can help you put the idea together. Or if there's something in your community that you would recommend, we would love to be able to start populating with examples from Ohio. If you could help us with that, that would be great. And of course, your feedback, once we go ahead and launch it, that'll be a soft launch. We'll kind of open it up, share it with you to get your feedback on that so we can continue to change it. We were going to take your... Okay. Not yet. Let us make sure we caught all the spelling mistakes and things. Okay, so there are resources from Ocali here at the table. I don't want you to forget those. Kristen, do you need any other information?
She goes to the next slide here. I'd love to have your feedback on the projected dates for those that wish to remain members of our council for 2020. We're for you. And then just on your way out the door, if you could hand me your feedback form, how did you meet with today? And if you filled out the website questions or any notes on the terms of reference, I would love to collect any three of those things from you today. So thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed the 4-H Center.
Yes, thank you, Kristen. All right.
Your evaluation forms on the table, that's fine too.
That's fine too. Whatever you want to leave on the table, I'll collect.
Thank you so much for your time and for all of your thoughts and input today. I've learned so much from all of you. This is great. You're like our extended team, and it's wonderful. So thank you.